땡큐 감사합니다.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. So I'm Yusun Zhang from Minnesota State University. So I'm going to briefly discuss why these things actually happening, all these types of discrimination against the people. So I'm going to start very briefly with the history of just the humankind. So everybody may have some questions like where we came from actually, right? So let's say regardless of our religion. Most scientists actually believe that we came from same place in Africa, long time ago. And they start living there, and then they start migrating all the way through the first. So you see that this is Africa to the Europe, and then all the way to Asia. Okay, and then if you see the Asia, then you have Russia, and then you have also American continent, right? So about 20,000 years ago, those areas, there's a lot of Asian people were migrating right there. But then because of the big ice, they couldn't actually go past. But then later, they start melting, and then they are actually coming through the American continents, right? So which we call, say Indians, right? So, also take a look at the origin of our culture, civilizations. So we say like 4 civilizations, right? So one, say for example, because we came from Egypt, so we came from Africa, so Egypt, right? Nile area. Also, they just keep coming all the way, passing Europe, and then in Asia, like India, we have Indian civilization. What do we have also? We have China, right? Yeah. So all these civilizations actually pretty much started from Africa and Asia, right? So also the Iran and Iraq, those areas, Mesopotamia rivers and those areas. So pretty much Asia and Africa. But then now we got a lot of discriminations as Asian people, as black people, right, as minorities, and then we may have wondered why this is really happening. Okay, so first, big thing. Even though we started our civilization, the reason that we're still getting a lot of discrimination. We can actually think about a couple of different aspects. First one is actually, let's think about the American Indians, for example. So back in 1500, during the time, Western people tried to find some good things like 향료, which is actually this things that it's really smell really good, right? The perfumes and those stuff. So, 향신료. So they start looking for those, but then the Silk Road, which is actually pretty much blocked, then they decided to find India to get those things, and then they start coming out, and then Columbus, as you know, found the America, and then at that time, like almost 200,000 people actually were living there here in these continents in America, but then they all decimated, as you know. So and then President Obama just recently, 2010, made a formal speech for apology for those Indian people, right? But then if you think those roots, then pretty much they came from East Asia. So they are pretty much partially or fully Asian people who are living here. Now they are all in refugee town or camps, right? And then we only have about, right now, say, 200,000. So it would be 2 million, right? Yeah, 2 million people only just living here in the US. What about the other big countries? We could think about 2 other countries, and now I'm going to wrap it up. One is China, and the other one is India. They are the major 2 Asian countries. And then also remember that they started a civilization for this human being. India, as you know, they've been going through a horrible time by England. And England actually start growing, say, what do you call the flowers for opium, right? And then they get actually, so they need actually a gold to buy good, say, flower bottles and then those stuff from China. And then they need some, silver because China actually uses at the time the silver as a money. So they get all those stuff and then they'll have to give, a lot of silver, but then they don't have any silver left. So what do they do then? Oh, okay, we're going to sell something to China, and then they start selling opium. And then they're getting a lot of silver back from there. Then they don't want to grow those, dangerous things in their country. So they decided to do that in India. And then in India, they start growing all those flowers, and they eventually manufacturing all those opium, and then eventually import to China. So China, think about in China side, that's about 1840. That's about 1840. It's about a little bit less than 200 years ago right now. It's now 2021, right? So less than 200 years ago. And then the England actually invaded the capital city of China, and then they burned down all those palaces, and then just the horrible things happened at that time. And then they lost territories like Hong Kong Island, right? And later on, when they fought against Japan, and they also lost in other territories. Also, Yonheji Vladivostok, those areas to Russia. So they are still, not getting back their land yet because of all those, invasion from western world. Also, the India too. India again, a small country we call Dongindo, Pesa. So we call the East Indian, say, company, for example, from England. They're just a company, but then they got privilege from the England government at that time, and then they start doing business. Later on, they do taxing, like they're a company, but they are collecting tax, and they were acting like it's just a government. And then those are really difficult time for India. Then later on, the England also decided to, okay, we're going to do it directly because you guys are making too much trouble here. So India, as just a big country, they went through that very difficult time, and then it was just horrible. And then what's left in terms of Asia? We talked about the China, we talked about big country like India, all the rest of is small, South Asia, just small countries, Malaysia, Indonesia, all those territories. So when the England is actually fighting against China through opium war battle, France actually was very shocked. Oh, we're going to lose all those territories by England, and then they're going to get all those China. So we're going to actually do it in the opposite way. So they decided to come to Indochina, all those peninsulas and islands, all that, and then they start getting Vietnam, for example. So the entire whole Asian country, just what? Just playground for Western people to sell their products, and then if we're not listening to it, then just to kill, hang people, and that was just the everyday life actually. I'm not talking about like 500 years ago. I'm talking about 200 to 100 years ago, even 70 years ago. Why? All those things actually were getting better right after Second World War II ends. So that is back in 1945, as you know. So it's just about 75 years so far right now. All of those countries like India were actually occupied by England. So think about the Western people's mind towards the Asia. Oh, these people are the ones that produce it, and they are our laborers to agriculture, all those what we need, and then we're gonna just let them grow some opium, and then we're gonna, I mean, we just can't imagine how they actually we've been being treated. So in only about 70, 80 years, those actually perception wouldn't really change quickly. So this is just a quick summary of what's happening right now, and it is continuous history. Not it stopped right there, and then all of a sudden they're going to treat us like equally. That wasn't really happening, because there's perception. Why? Because even 1940, 45. Think about my parents, for example. They were even like 10, 15 years old at that time, so they're still living together with us. And then those histories still embedded there. So it's not something like just like 1,000 years ago stories. It is still happening. Mm-hmm. Now, why am I talking about this one? What's the motivation that I just talked about this one? Clearly it's not something like, okay, we've been treated this bad for a long time. We're gonna revenge it to you. No, that's really bad. It wouldn't really solve our problems, actually. The reason is, what I'm trying to say here is, we are same people, and we want to be treated equally, of course, because why? We have our original, like intrinsic, human right as just a human being, and then we have our right to live wherever we like. Countries and then systems like a citizenship, it's actually made for us to live everyday life easy, but it's not really on top of our just a basic human right. And then we want to travel everywhere. If you want, we should be able to go. So those actual rights cannot be intervened or cannot be stopped by someone. And I'm trying to emphasize on that part rather than revenge. So if you don't accept this basic equality of human rights, that means that you're not gonna really regret what you have done for us. Again, you're gonna do the same thing for us later on. And it's not gonna stop, then we're gonna suffer forever like that. So that shouldn't happen. So that's why we're talking about the history. This is what is happening before, what was happening before. So you see that what was happened before, and then do apology to us, and accept that our just a basic human right, and then based upon that, we live in harmony and peace, and then it's through dialogue. So I would like this opportunity to have really bringing up the really good discussions now how we could actually deliver this sincere our thought about this racisms and discriminations, and then try to come up with really good ideas how we could actually put this into our curriculum, because education is everything. We started from there. If it is only that is better, because when you are young, then you could just absorb that this is right, and then you don't object. So early age is really, early education is very, very important. We try to put this into our educational curriculum. And since Gwinnett is one of the majority, one of the city that most of our Korean populations are living here. So this could be really, really good starting point to do something like that. And I would like this to be spread out to the entire Georgia, even to the United States. So I hope that this will really bring that up. Thank you very much.
제가 시작해서 잠깐 말씀드리겠습니다. 시작해서 우리가 오늘 이 문제를 볼 때 역사에서 시작하는 것이 좋을 것 같습니다. 제가 이제 장 교수님 입장에서 이야기하겠습니다. 우리는 하나에서 왔습니다. 아프리카에서 시작해가지고 우리가 새들이 막 날아가서 이렇게 하듯이 자기의 그 기후에 따라서 아시아나 유럽이나 곳곳으로 흩어져 가지고 2만 년 전부터 시작해서 그렇게 해서 4대 문명이 형성됐고, 그 중에 가장 찬란한 문명은 또 아시아에서 또 열렸습니다. 인도에서 있었고 중국에서 있었고. 네. 그래서 우리가 이것을 하나의 시각으로 보지 말고 다양한 시각에서 several aspect에서 이것을 바라볼 필요가 있을 것 같습니다. 먼저 중국과 인도가 수탈된 상황을 보시면은 우리가 인도에 대해서는 잘 몰랐는데 인도 같은 경우에 그 영국의 식민지로 있으면서 상당히 많은 그 수탈을 당했는데 그 중에 하나가 자기들이 필요한 것을 얻기 위해서 지금 그 아편을 재배하는 것을 인도에서 했습니다. 그거를 또 중국에다가 팔았죠. 왜 팔았느냐? 지금 향신료를 얻기 위해서 영국은 은이 필요했어요. 은본위제였기 때문에. 또 그것을 가지고 오기 위해서는 중국에 그 은을 많이 가져와야 되는데 그 은을 하기 위해서는 아편을 재배를 인도에서 해서 그것을 중국에 팔아서 그걸 가져오는데 중국이 반발했잖아요. 그러니까 이제 중국하고 전쟁을 했는데 아주 중국의 수도로 아주 쑥대밭을 만들었습니다. 불을 다 태우고 그래가지고 하고 있는 다음에 프랑스가 우리가 이렇게 다 잃어버리겠다. 그래가지고 프랑스는 역으로 인도 차이나 쪽으로 해가지고 베트남이라든지 이런 지역을 다 해서 아시아는 상품 시장으로 전락했고 수탈의 대상으로 다 전락하는 그런 것을 우리가 볼 수 있습니다. 근데 이 얘기가 500년 전의 얘기가 아닙니다. 200년 전의 얘기고 그리고 가까이는 바로 75년 전의 얘기입니다. 1945년에 2차 세계대전이 종료되면서 그때서야 독립을 얻고 했는데 그 전까지의 하다못해 중국도 그런데 뭐 한국을 비롯해서 많은 나라들은 그런 수탈의 대상이 되어 왔었고 그거를 해결을 해야 되는데 2010년도에 가서나 오바마 대통령이 아메리칸 인디언들한테 사과를 했습니다. 대통령으로서. 다소 늦은 감이 있죠. 그래서 인디안의 역사는 어떻게 됐습니까? 그 많던 인구가 200만 명으로 쪼그라들었습니다. 그 인도에 대한 역사는 좀 더 홍성원 이사장님도 말씀을 하실 텐데요. 그게 그 현실입니다. 예. 그래서 이렇게 수탈하고 이용하고 이런 것들이 얼마나 비참한 역사의 그늘에 가려져 있는가를 우리가 볼 수가 있고 그렇게 볼 때 이 차별이라는 것은 지금 바로 일어난 것이 아니라 오랜 역사적인 맥락을 가지고 있기 때문에 그것을 치유하기 위해서는 우리가 그 사람들이 잘못했던 걸 사과도 필요하지만 그 사과를 가지고 이들이 잘못했기 때문에 우리가 복수할 거야. 이렇게 되면은 악순환의 역사가 되풀이되는 거기 때문에 복수를 하자는 것이 아니라 우리가 이제 새로운 모든 인간은 평등하다. 그래서 휴먼 라이츠라는 그런 개념을 가지고 있을 때는 우리가 이해를 해야 됩니다. 우리가 이해하는 방법은 뭐겠습니까? 교육을 통해서 해야 된다는 거죠. 균핵 카운티는 조지아에서 가장 학생 수가 많습니다. 이런 균핵 카운티에서 바로 그러한 역사를 전달하고 객관적으로 해석하고 그렇게 전파되어질 때 우리가 비로소 화해를 얻을 수가 있고 그 바탕 위에서 우리가 진정한 그 휴먼 라이트, 베이직 휴먼 라이트에 대해서 할 수 있으라고 봅니다. 그래서 지금 영어로 이해하지 못하신 분들은 짤막하지만 이 정도로 한국말로 받아들이시고 이제부터는 사회를 보시면서 각 그 패널리스트들 하시기 바랍니다. 감사합니다.
네.
네.
제가 사회를 물어보면
네네네. 거기에 대해서 이제 말씀을 드리겠습니다. So as a panelist time, so he's going to.
So we have here four wonderful panelists. So let us just start with the Miss Kara, actually. So yeah, go ahead, please.
So excuse me. I grew up in, I just want to start with that, I was blessed to grow up in a multicultural home. One of which where I was introduced to both to the Asian and African American Caribbean culture. And because my family was very active in the fight for equality for all people of color, and equity, and ensuring equity, that we have equity for all people of color, so that we can pursue our dreams here in America. I have a very different understanding than most would have with reference to this. I agree to your point that it does start with education. that's actually very critical. I see within my own family, because I want to accept, we also have, I do have a European side within my family on my father's side. My family's very mixed. So we have, you know, if you see our pictures, we were exposed to everyone. It was almost like utopia within my family. So because my family has made it a point to understand each other's cultures, that hate wasn't prevalent in there. But that comes back to educating everyone. We educated ourselves so that we can love each other, right? So your point is well taken, and I think it should start in our schools. Our schools should have an opportunity to expose, whether it's the Korean culture, the Chinese, the, you know, whatever Asian, whatever, especially within our very diverse, we have over 100 different languages in Gwinnett County.
Oh.
That
Oh.
that exposure is very important for our children of understanding American history. Understand, however, this is the one thing, and maybe we can all talk as a panel about this. It's very difficult because people's fears of understanding even American history, and where we had our own issues, okay? Whether it was the concentration camps that occurred during the Japanese War,
Yeah.
whether it was slavery,
Mm-hmm.
the American Indian genocide.
Sure.
If we cannot embrace, similar to what Germany did, where they said, we know this is wrong, this will not happen again. If we are unable to understand what happened here, even in our own country, and how we make sure history does not repeat itself, that will be very difficult for us to go to where you are talking, even have those discussions, because we can't even acknowledge what has happened here in our own country, the melting pot.
Yeah.
I am the melting pot. I am literally the melting pot. And I know what love is like. I know what understanding is like, and we can get there. But I was exposed to that because my family made it so. So I'll pass it to the other panelists, but I think it's something we have to think about, because if we can't even understand and fully embrace and understand what has happened here in America with all of our variety of people
Mm-hmm.
here,
Mm-hmm.
and how everyone here on American soil, this is where we run to when we're experiencing discrimination in our own country, you know, in another country.
Sure.
But if we can't embrace and understand, okay, these were our issues, how do we ensure and rectify this will never happen again? Again, comes back to that discussion you described.
Mm-hmm.
If we can't have that discussion and have that understanding
Mm-hmm.
of where wrong things that may have happened, how we can move forward to right these by not allowing it to happen again, we will continue in this cycle. It'll just continue. So I will pass it to the other panelists here to have this. Thank you.
Thank you. 제가 그럼 한국말을 잠깐 할까요? 네. 그러니까 우리 카렌님께서 말씀하시는 거는 기본적으로 제가 아까 그 주제 발표한 거에 대해서 굉장히 교육으로 저희가 이 문제를 해결해야 된다는 거에 대해서 굉장히 동의를 하시고, 그리고 그런 교육을 통해야만 서로 다양한 문화와 컬처를 가지고 있는 사람들끼리 서로 이해를 넓힐 수가 있고 서로 사랑을 할 수가 있다, 그렇게 말씀하셨고, 여기 귀네 카운티는 특별히 이제 다양한 인종들이 많이 살고, 또 저희 코리안 같은 경우는 모조리티로 사는데, 아까 저희가 근본적인 이제 그 이런 일들이 왜 저희가 이런 디스크리미네이션이라든지 이런 거에 대해서 이제 교육하고 또 공감대를 확산하기가 일단은 이제 어려운 상황인데, 그런 것들은 이제 이 미국 내 자체에서도 여러 가지 지금 가지고 있는 갈등 요소가 많이 있지 않습니까? 우리 아까 제가 말씀드린 인디언 학살이라든지 또 그런 여러 가지 문제들이 있는데, 그런 것들을 공론화해서 이렇게 이야기를 하고 치유를 하고 서로 공감대를 넓히는 이런 과정들이 필요한데, 그런 부분들이 앞으로도 계속 돼야 되겠고, 그래서 이제 그런 부분을 저희가 많이 노력을 그래야 될 것 같다. 이제 그렇게 말씀하셨습니다. Thank you, Karen. Okay. So we just anybody is ready, then we'll just go ahead and if you're ready, then I'll go ahead instead of me pointing out that you start. Okay. So do you want to go first? Yes. Yes.
제가 하는 거요?
Yes.
Thank you. First of all, last March, end of March 2016, that happened. So, U.S. government really concerning about that the racism and hate crime for the Asians. So, Homeland Security 장관, he invites 20 something non-profit organization leaders, and we discuss how we can solve these problems. So each just non-profit leader suggests that my suggestion was actually education is focus, must be focused, and start early age. So they learn different culture, different color, and respect each other, make a harmony. You know that education is must be focused on that basic. So that Homeland Secretary say that's an excellent suggestion. So he say I will suggest the Department of Education, they have to combine the teaching, make a curriculum, and then start early age. Early age means that learning each other, small group. So I know that racism and discrimination is a deep root. It's ongoing silently all the way. So we start at early age. Without the education, we cannot solve the problems actually. So my concerning is we must teaching early age.
네.
제가 통역을 잠깐 할까요?
네,
그 부분에.
하시죠.
예. 지난 3월 30일 날 국토안보부 장관 알레한드로 마요카가
Yes.
28개의 시민단체를 전국에서 초대를 했는데
Non-profit.
그 중에서 우리 그 지수의 대표님이 참석을 하셨고 한인회에서는 김인철 회장님이 저에게 부탁하셔서 제가 참석을 했었는데 그때 지수의 대표님이 장관한테 직접 이 문제는 교육 외에는 해결될 수 있는 방향이 없다. 사람들이 인지하지 못하는 것에 대해서는 굉장히 잔인하게 될 수가 있으니까 아주 어린 시절부터 이것은 교육을 통해서 해야 되는데 그리고 이제 세미나를 주최를 해가지고 다른 문화권에 문화 교제를 해야 된다 하니까 그분이 다른 사람 말할 때는 가만히 있었는데 아주 그 무릎을 치면서 그게 답이다. 내가 교육부 장관하고 그 문제에 대해서 얘기를 해서 한번 추진을 해보도록 하겠다고 말씀을 하신 겁니다. 예, 아주 잘 말씀하셨습니다. 이상입니다.
네. Thank you so much for sharing good ideas. Yeah, I think Madam Martins was very lucky because her family has exposure to multicultural culture and also education. Personally, so she has very balanced view. Recently, Illinois House passed a bill. The bill says it would make it mandatory for local schools to teach Asian American history. That means that some people they are lucky to learn some multicultural exposure, but I think to all early age students, they need to learn about a balanced view of history, including Asian American history. So I want to introduce some details. Under this bill, Asian American history will be included in the curriculum of public elementary school and high school starting in 2022 to 2023 school year. And topic include history of Asian American Illinois and West, as well as their contribution toward advancing civil rights. Also, a school board may develop their curriculum based on instructional materials provided by a state superintendent. So, in Georgia or other states, we can see this process, and then we can refer to this process. So in the future, so we have consensus. Education is very important to change individual mind.
Yeah.
So I think some people has a good idea, but as time goes, it can disappear. So we need to make this one make system. So I think we have some consensus, and then we need to this idea to the House representative or other representative. So
Okay, thank you. 그러면 한국말로 직접 준비하시겠습니다.
예, 얼마 전에 그 지금 말씀하신 것처럼 개인이 어렸을 때 어떤 개인적인 경험을 하느냐가 굉장히 중요한데 지금 마담 와킨스 같은 경우는 집에 그렇게 좀 어렸을 때부터 좋은 환경에서 밸런스된 어떤 그 견해를 가질 수 있는 환경이 있었어요. 근데 그렇지 못한 학생들은 또 그게 안 되기 때문에 결국엔 지금 우리가 다 얘기했듯이 어렸을 때부터 초등학교부터 좋은 어떤 밸런스된 교육을 배우는 게 중요한데 사실은 지금 아메리칸 히스토리에서 에이션 아메리칸 히스토리에 관한 건 없어요. 에이션 아메리칸 히스토리 아까 교수님도 말씀해 주셨지만 그런 것뿐만 아니라 에이션 아메리칸들이 미국에 와서 얼마나 우리가 이 사회를 그레이트 아메리카를 만드는 데 공헌을 하는지 뭐 그런 거에 관해서 우리가 좀 더 미국 일반적인 화이트가 됐던 다른 분들한테도 좀 알려줄 필요가 있다는 거죠. 그래서 그런 측면에서 얼마 전에 일리노이에서 하우스에서 이 패스된 요 법이 굉장히 의미가 있고 우리가 이거를 우리가 그 지역구에 사는 어떤 그 의원들한테 얘기를 해서 각 주에서도 이런 비슷한 법을 통과시킬 수 있도록 우리가 좀 뭐 서명을 받는다든지 하는 것들이 굉장히 필요할 것 같습니다. 이렇게 제도화가 된다 그러면 이게 굉장히 그레주얼리 점진적으로 가는 거지만 굉장히 이게 콘크리트한 어떤 그 프로그레스가 될 것 같습니다. 그래서 일단 요거를 제가 소개시켜 드리고 싶습니다. 이상입니다.
네, 잘 들었습니다. 네, 고맙습니다.
오늘 아침에 갑자기 우리 브라이언 김 선생님한테 저는 그냥 청소만 하는 줄 알았어요. 편하게. 그랬더니 뭐 패널 쪽에서